Hey, 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 Facebook land. Good morning to all of my Facebook friends out there. It's Thursday, and this is my Facebook show every other Thursday. I get to come and go, come on into my studio. So if you have landed here this morning, I see people coming on. I'm super excited that you're going to join me in the studio. So give me a comment so I know who you are. We are going to just talk shop today. Uh, I got a little lesson that I put together for you. And if it's your first time to join me at my Facebook Live show, hey, thank you for coming in. I'm super excited to have you. I am Linda Glover Gooch. If you don't know who I am, I'm a painter. I live in Arizona, content creator, teacher, and I see you guys coming in. Good morning, Graham from Oregon. I'm glad to see you, Graham. Thanks for joining me this morning. And Kevin, thank you for joining Las Vegas. I'm assuming that LV is Las Vegas. We're probably getting kind of warm up there like we are here. And Susan, so good to see you. Long time no see. Yeah, great to have you. You're a busy little gal out there doing lots of art stuff. I love watching all of that. And Susan from Canada. Awesome. We've got a lot of people coming on. So this is the plan. Here I am, Linda Glover Gooch. Welcome to my studio. We're going to talk art today. We're going to do a little bit of lesson time. Thank you, Pat, for showing up. Good to see you again, girlfriend. So glad. Great. Glad everybody's coming in. So I'm going to move on because I just spent 30 minutes on my Facebook Live. So my idea is to try to put together a valuable lesson for you so you can get back in the studio or wherever you do your art thing and practice and work on it and see, what you get out of it. So that's kind of where I am. I love just seeing everybody coming in. Good morning, Marilyn. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I recognize you from my YouTube channel, Farzantha. If I just totally sabotaged your name, I apologize. But welcome. I'm glad that you joined me today. It's awesome. So today's lesson is about setting the stage for success. What do I mean by that? So, not bad. Thank you. I didn't do too bad on your name. Great to know. So, what I mean by success is okay, let's get started on a painting. You kind of have an idea of what you want to paint. So, I've been down this path so many times over the years, getting started on a painting and then, maybe it hasn't worked out or I'm struggling with it. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you my steps. I've become very methodical when it comes to creating my work. Now, there are some other steps, like I have project sheets that I have set up so I know where I am on different paintings. I know deadlines. I'm not going into any of that. That's more of the business side of art, which if people are interested, I'd be willing to do a lesson on that. But today it's like, okay, the whole process. So I put together some slides, but first and foremost, I'm in Arizona. So I always share a little bit of Arizona. So let me show you what's going on. Now, it's summer approaching, so the terrain around my studio is a little bit tired, but I always have the Grand Canyon. So I am going to bring to you, look at this great picture. This was the Grand Canyon. It was actually in October. There was this beautiful storm that took place. It hailed and I was up there painting, and check out that rainbow. Is that not cool? Now, I probably wouldn't paint that because I'm just not all about painting rainbows, but yeah, it's a cool picture, right? I thought it was anyway, but this one was one of my favorites from that storm. So you can see that white on the ledges is actually hail. It didn't snow, but it had hailed. And then when all of that started clearing, wow, things got glorious. It really became a awesome scene. So that's my Arizona scene right now. Betty, good to see you. Sharon, glad. I'm so happy to have all you guys coming on. Rena, welcome. And Carolyn, all my good friends. So glad you're all here. It's so fun because I actually anticipate Thursdays of bringing you guys in the studio. It's like having company. So let's get on to studying. First off, remember, if you are watching the replay to this, thank you for watching the replay. This will be on the Facebook page. If for some reason you have to leave early today, or you're catching this after the fact, still love to know that you showed up. Drop me a line. Also, if you find this lesson valuable and you think you'll have friends that would like it, share this too. Thumbs up, share it, love it, do all that good stuff. So we're going to get on to the lesson at hand. I'm going to, what my plan is I'm going to teach you a little bit. All right. And I have a short video that I put together, but as you know, I am kind of a biggie on, putting the screen up, doing your homework. All right. So when I talk about homework, it's not like, I don't want it to feel like that's a heavy thing, like, more practice. But it is the practice that sets the stage for success. Now, this homework that I'm talking about is before you start painting. This is the road that I take. So I say, okay, I want to do a Grand Canyon painting. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, right? Well, first and foremost, I get through a bunch of photographs. Let me put big screen in case somebody's on the phone. I'll lay out a bunch of photographs of what it is that I want to paint. All right. So maybe I'm going to pull trees out of one scene and maybe a foreground out of another. I don't start with just one painting. All right. I'm sorry, one photo. I don't just use one photo. I get a collage of photos together. Like I spread a bunch out here just like to be over dramatic, right? Because it might, maybe you wouldn't have that many, maybe you would. But I collect a lot of information before I start painting. Then I go, and this is where you see me. Now I'm in the preliminary stage. I've got a bunch of photos. If you've listened, walked with me, been in my classes, you know I'm a big proponent for sketching. So you can see down in the bottom left-hand corner, I have a little notan sketched out. I'm working on a small study. Notice the photograph up in the top right-hand corner is not the same cloud. I'm not using that cloud. I'm using that foreground to build the foreground in that small study. Because if I want to go bigger, many times I'll do thumbnails and I'll do small studies. All right. Then as I'm working that about, look at all the information I'm collecting. Like I've done little small sketches. I have other paintings. Maybe they're a similar palette, or the cloud is similar in certain ways, you know, just different things. Now, as I'm going through this lesson, I want you to feel free about throwing in questions because I'd love to answer questions for you here. And welcome all you new people coming in, Jocelyn and Pam and Cindy. Good to see you. Love having everybody come in. So I will be checking questions after this lesson, and I'm going to put them up on the screen and answer as many questions today. But here you see, I've got this whole series of things lined up, right? So that is vitally important, what you're doing before you start painting. So now at that point, I went through all that stuff. I've done some sketches, right? So now I'm ready to paint. So you can see here I am. I had all those clouds set up, right? Now you can see I've started the big one. And a question about studio, because I get this a lot. I use a small laptop and I am mirroring, or I am sending it to a big TV screen there. All right. I use an HDMI instead of Wi-Fi. And my reason being is, from my laptop to that TV, I have it hooked with an HDMI cord because internet sometimes can fall. And if I'm in the middle of a painting and I want to paint and the internet is down, it's just a little bit irritating. So yeah, Betty says her internet is in and out. So if you're going to do this from a laptop to a TV, that's a big Sony TV, and you know, it's just great for painting off of. It gets it bigger, and so that's my setup. But again, my point being is, look, I have my big painting I started. I've got thumbnails. I've got images down on a table next to me. I've got a study. So this is the process that you want to use for getting yourself set. All right. Getting yourself to where you know where you're going on your subject matter. All right. So now I'm going to take you on a little journey here. So we're going to watch a video. I have a lesson for you that I have a video of me starting a Grand Canyon painting and taking you through some steps. Now, some of it I've narrated and some of it is not. So it's just about 4 minutes. I'm going to run this video. I may stop it a little bit in between. I think I'll go full screen. I usually try to say full screen just because if you're watching it on a smaller device, you don't have to see me waving here on the side. So I'm going to run this lesson for you. This is now at the point where I found all of my images. All right. I think I have an image here to show you first. This was my image of the Grand Canyon scene. Now, I tweaked some stuff in Photoshop. I moved a little bit. I brought the foreground in a little different. But this was my image. All right. This is my finished painting. So you can kind of see where I went with it. My image, but I didn't have just one image, you guys. I had multiple images. I had other images of cliffs, front cliffs at the canyon and the way the light hits. I had multiple images of clouds to kind of play against, all right, to help me. So then this is the painting. So now we're going to run this video and 4 minutes. Sit tight. I may stop it in the middle too and talk. We'll see. Hold on 1 second. Let me take the slide down and we're going to run this video.
I have found it a great help to do a detailed drawing when it comes to the Grand Canyon scenes. There is just so much complexities to it. And then I go with a wash, an underwash, and of a warm tone and just cover the whole canvas. Burnt sienna or transparent red oxide, similar oranges, and build a thin wash and begin to wipe away and sculpt my drawing with paper towels. And I start pulling back out where those lights are and start creating form and a feeling of where I want this piece to go. Then I do sometimes do it in sections, and this where I wanted a darker wash in the lower area, and then start the whole process through really paying attention to my underdrawing. Now that draw.
Okay, real quick. I did that sky first, the wash. Like I had said in the video, I wanted the bottom part darker, but also I knew there was a lot of intricate stuff in this drawing. So I didn't want that wash to get all dry down below while I was dealing with the sky. So there's 2 reasons why I did that. First off, I wanted a darker value in the lower part of the land. Second, I want to spend some time sculpting my drawing. This is where I call it sculpting, where I really wipe out. Sometimes I do less. In this particular scene, I did quite a bit. Now, I've shown you videos before of putting a wash on and wiping away. This one goes into a little bit more detail where I really get in there and sculpt and pay attention to shapes and details. Start this again. I just had to put that in there. Hold on.
Drawing was done with vine charcoal. I'm working on a oil primed linen canvas, and then I did spray the drawing with a fixative to set the drawing, so when I put these washes on you don't lose your charcoal. But I really do kind of tweak this out or really pay attention to some of the small little refinements. I want to get a feeling of this scene and all those complexities that are out there. Pulling some of that wash off with my paper towel and bringing it back over to that left rock area. just keep wiping away and finding little detailed areas that I can change the value of and understand the direction of the cliff and what angles are happening. It just gives me a great foundation. I feel like I know my scene when I do this as well. Once I get this done, I am ready to move on to paint, but I do let it dry completely, so I'll give it a day of drying.
I am going in there and blocking in those dark trees to start. I did start with the canyon first. I think it was more fearful. There was a lot to that canyon scene. Designing that front rock, really important right off the get-go. Like knowing where I'm going with those lines. And then right here in this sky, I'm going to pause that for a minute so I can jump back on here and tell you something. So I get a lot of students come to me and they want to paint these kind of stormy skies. Predominantly, if you look at the picture, it's kind of a light sky. And the tendency they have is they start too light. Notice how dark I am starting on this cloud that is predominantly got a lot of light. In the finished painting, you'll see it much lighter. But if you start too light, there's nowhere to go. So starting darker gives you a good foundation to work up on and be able to set the mood and the tone. Too much white, too light, too quick, it goes flat. All right. Okay. So hopefully you saw my most important thing that I wanted to get across to you was that very beginning. Depending on your scene, there may be more drawing or not. I pay very close attention to that toning and sculpting is really inspiring to do. What it does is it gets you against your work. For me, this is how I feel about it. It gets me against my work. My hand is up there, and I get more of a feeling of my scene. So I find that just to be really an important aspect of it. Now, I'm going to answer questions in a minute. I have a couple questions that have come up. And remember, if you do have any questions, put them down there in the chat box. But I'm going to look here. I want to show you again, talking about that video when I said, look how dark I start. See, that cloud is not that dark compared to what I showed you in the video. This is the photograph. But if I started light like that top left-hand corner and the top edge of the canvas, if I started that light, then it would be a little bit harder to get depth in it. So starting that way is just, for me, a little bit better. And you can now in your mind, if you remember how dark I was in the video, see how real light the cloud was. I didn't want a real heavy cloud up there because much of the back canyon has got a lot of dark. And then I really wanted the dramatics up close. But I did want that canyon to be predominant in my scene. So, hopefully that was helpful and it gives you some ideas here of, about how to get started. Farzanthith has this question: trying to get back into the studio this week and using some of the things that, and I'm reading this off the screen, so I'm not looking at you guys at this moment, just using some of the things that have been, I'm going to put this up here to help me, using some of the recommendations. All right. Knowing when to use warm and cool colors are as important, if not more, than the color itself. And that's true. Warm and cools will do a lot for you. Probably color is important, but warm and cools and in the sky help give you a little bit of vibration. So that is a true statement. So if the color of light is yellow, then the shadow is purple, hence my air color, ultramarine blue, cad red light. And talking going on, as the form turns in half shadow, the color is more influenced by the color of light, hence the color orange or pink more present. Am I right so far? And when and why do you introduce cerulean and cad red, and why? That's some of this is going to come by practice, trial and error, intuition, doing it over and over again. I do think compliments when I'm painting skies, but I also know that as the cloud develops up higher and higher, things are colder. So the question, when do I add cerulean blue? Much of my white and cerulean blue or Severs blue, they're very similar, are up in that boiling part of the clouds where it's cooler. So when am I adding cad red lights? Going to warm things up. It's usually a little bit lower. Now, there's always room for something to be different in any given day on a storm, but usually the cad red light falls down into the lower areas for two reasons. Maybe I want my gray to go a little bit darker and a little bit warmer. So that's when I kind of decide about the cad red light. Do I think compliments? I do, but I don't think as much violet and yellow as my compliments. My mind almost goes into more of a blue orange state when I'm working clouds. But yellow does show up here and there, but I'm more of a blue orange than a violet yellow person in my skies. And that's just maybe comes from practice out at the Grand Canyon. Matter of fact, because there's so much blue gray down in the canyon itself, that much of that carries up in the sky. So again, your sky is dominated by the earth as well, because there's a lot of reflected lights. Hopefully that made sense. That was a lot of talking for your answer, your question. And it was a good question for sure, because those are thoughts and ways that you do have to think about when you're developing it. You're welcome, Marilyn. She said, thank you for the generosity. And Cindy said, you really did start that cloud dark. I really did. But you see, it didn't end up that dark, right? But if I start it too light, it starts off flat. So I push those sky clouds darker in the beginning just to get it started and be able to give myself depth. Now, I am going to look, if you have any more questions, you guys put them up there, because I'm watching that. In the meantime, I want to also talk to you about this week's blog that is out, is about lights on cliffs or rocks. It says lights on cliffs. The blog is listed as this right here, painting light on cliffs. So that's those edges where you have that little sparkle of light. And I talk about that as frosting. I talk about that at the blog. So you can go over to the blog, and there is lindaglovergooch.com/113. At that blog, I have another whole video there for you to watch. and it's that frosting on the edges. I talk about the different things to think about whenever you are, working on different scenes. Now, that can apply to a lot of different landscapes. It doesn't have to be just the canyon. I just happen to have good videos with that I can use as lessons, but it could be on the water edge of a stream, little rocks that lay there. You can even apply the same idea with grass strokes. So it's just not canyon, but any kind of scene, these same elements that I show you in that video, you can use it in a lot of different places. So that's at the blog, the lindaglovergooch.com/113. You can hit that and visit the blog. There's also, I have a new lesson on there about earth colors. So if you go over there, I have a downloadable link that takes you to a video about different earth colors and about mixing them. I just have a lot of information on the blog. I try to load my blogs up with a lot for you to do and to study. So you can get over there and do that. The other thing that I do want to share with you today is if you are a plein air painter and you want to do any plein air painting, I'm going to put this link in the chat box where you can pick up a guide on plein air painting from me. It's got a lot of information. It's got color mixtures, and I just dropped that in the I'm going to put a little note up here. It's a guide to plein air painting, and I dropped it in the comment box. Sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm dropping links and talking to you at the same time. So that's multitasking for sure. But that plein air guide has color mixtures. It's got images. It's got the palette. It's just stuff. You can take that out with you. And the colors are a very, to me, blue, browns. You can use these at a lot of different landscapes. So you might find that helpful. And so there's the link in the comment box right there that you can check out. Okay, and Farnantha says, thank you for the answer. If orange and blue, why the color of silver lining in yellow and white and not orange, cat orange, or burnt sienna? Well, because we do want to have a little bit of variation. Now, you could use orange, but almost all the time on my silver linings, I don't use orange. Why? Yellow is a little bit higher on the color wheel spectrum. It's going to be a little bit more brighter, and sometimes silver lining leans a little bit cold. Now, there is a blog that I talk about silver lining. Let me look that up. So make a note. If you've got a pencil, write this down. I have a lesson. It's my blog 107. So if you went to lindaglovergooch.com/107, that's all about silver lining. That blog is all about silver lining. But I find silver lining to not be so much warm. I see that silver lining most of the time. All right. Now, always there can be something different, but most of the time I find that silver lining to be colder. So I'll use a white and lemon yellow, or sometimes cad yellow. So I never use burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is more of an earthy tone. It's more of a neutralizer. So very seldom are you going to find me putting burnt sienna in my sky, or transparent oxide red. Not my sky color, earth color. Cad red light, alizarin, phthalo red rose, those reds, yes, I will use those in the sky. Hopefully that answers that question for you. You can always use white and orange for a silver lining. I just lean towards yellows. Carolyn says, let's see what this says here. Let me get rid of that other little scrolling banner so it's not bothering us. Carolyn's question, do you pay careful attention of the direction of light in the photos you are combining? Thank you for your generosity. You're welcome. And yes, I do. Definitely. That is a major thing. With all those photos that were spread out, there's one thing you must do is pay attention to your light source. But there is something you can change. So I use Photoshop quite a bit. So let's say I have this great cloud and I love it and the light is cool. And then I have this other like foreground picture and I really like the design of the trees and I just sort of like stuff, but the light's coming from the other direction. I'll flip it. I'll flip that landscape photo, flip it, and see how does that work. And if it completely changed the composition, I can move things around in Photoshop. It's a little crude, but you know what? That doesn't matter. You want to know why? I don't want every detail in my photo. I don't want to paint photorealism. I want to paint my voice and my freedom to be creative. So I'll flip it. Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe the cloud direction light is wrong. I'll flip that cloud picture. I'll merge those together and I'll play with it. And I do that on Photoshop. So what am I doing? Many of my images are nowhere in realism, are nowhere in real life. People at shows say, well, where is that? And you know what? I just tell them the truth. That is where I would like to be. That is a scene. I did see that cloud, yes, and I did see that landscape, but they may not be the same place. I've developed a scene that is from my heart, like a place I want to go, and like I got to play with the light and something like I'm imagining. And you know what happens with that? Let me tell you what happens with that. When you're working these types of scenes, it will strike an emotion in someone. All right. And if you're selling your work, this is highly important. You want to strike an emotion, a memory, a thought, a feeling in your viewer, right? So when they look at that scene, I just say, you know, it's a place I want to go. It's something that I developed, a pleasing scene, you know, with feeling. And they say, it reminds me of when we would go to grandma's house in Louisiana. All right. But then they look at my title and it says, um, it will say Northern California. Okay, well, that just probably I lost a sale because now all of a sudden their emotion of it was Louisiana grandma's house turned into, oh, that's Northern California. There's not very many times I will title a painting a specific place unless it's an iconic scene like Grand Canyon, Glacier National Park, one of those things. Otherwise, I watch my titling and I'm getting into a little business here, but that's all right because the whole idea is I develop these clouds, sky, landscape scenes from multiple mediums or multiple scenes, multiple pictures, and bring in an image that I want to do. So direction of light, that was a really long answer for you, Carolyn. Direction of light, because it took me a whole different place about talking about merging two photos, is definitely something you have to pay attention to. All right. And let's see, do we have any more questions? If you got any more questions, we are at the end of today's lesson. Again, painting lights on the cliff. That is at the blog. Go over to, you're welcome, Carolyn. Thank you for the question. Go on over to the blog this week and get yourself, you know, more information there. And you can scroll some of the other blogs. I have a lot of different information, like the silver lining. There's others on there that are just different cloud scenes, some about mixing colors, mixing blues. I'm trying to think in my mind some of my past blogs, but they're on there. If you're not on my email list, you can join my email list by going to lindaglovergooch.com. On that homepage is a link right there that says join the journey. What happens when you're on my email list? Every other Tuesday, I'll email you. I'll say, hey, I wrote a blog today. It's about the light on cliffs, or it's about silver lining. I'll let you know what's there. I'll remind you that I'm going live on Facebook, tell you what the subject is. So that's every other Tuesday. I remind you about that. And then also, if I have any kind of specials, going on with my online courses. I am the creator of masterfulpainting.com. I have online courses there where you can take an online course with me and go into further study. Okay, let me tell you before we end here real quick, and I'm going to check to make sure if there's more questions, I'll get to them. But before everybody leaves, you're welcome, girls. Thank you, Pam and Cindy and Susan. Appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys all joining. It's much more fun to do this when I got a group of people. But let me tell you, May the 30th, I will be back in 2 weeks from today with another Facebook Live. Here is what's on the horizon. 2 weeks, another Facebook Live. I'm going to be talking about the power of blue. Love blue, right? Hey, I'm a sky painter. What can I say? But it can work for anything in your landscape. I'm going to talk about the power of blue and what it will do and how you can use it. That's in 2 weeks on the Facebook Live. My blog will go with that as well. There will be lots of information. Then coming in July and August, I have my summer sketch giveaway coming back. If you don't know what that is, I always do a summer sketch giveaway where we come on and I do some sketching, but I give away great sketching supplies. I've been doing it. This will be my 4th year to run summer sketch giveaways. We have a good time. People win my sketches. I give away really good prizes. That's coming in July and August. Next month in June, I have a webinar workshop. I will be live for 3 days, and I will be talking about how to paint different canyon walls, different rocks. I will be live in the latter part of June, so watch for information coming when you can register for that. And hey, we're just going to keep doing this thing, right? That is the key. It's practice, just to keep yourself at the easel, at your drawing board, out plein air painting. You know, there's just so many things we can do to encourage ourselves. And let me just bring one last thing. I'm 7 minutes over. I want to say one last thing to you today. All right. Let me get rid of that. Get serious. Don't be hesitant or fall off track because you don't think you have enough time to paint or sketch today. Let's say you had a busy day and you only have an hour. Do it. Sometimes when we have all day long, we can piddle along. We can get a cup of coffee. I know. We can stop to start a load of laundry. Like, because we have so much time today, I got plenty of time. When you only have an hour, sometimes if you think, okay, I only have an hour, going to do this, sometimes you'll be more spontaneous, right? You won't get hung up on too much detail because you're knowing, I don't have too much time. Let me see how far I can get. You might loosen yourself up a little bit. You know, there will be a variety of reasons to not hesitate. Don't let time be your hindrance. It's almost a lie in our mindset that, oh, I don't have enough time. Oh, you know, you can get out a sketchbook and markers pretty darn quick and throw them on the kitchen counter and sketch for 30 minutes and you'll start growing. Or if you have an easel area, little sketches, or even start your drawing, get the drawing on the canvas. Or I only got 30 minutes today. Okay, sit down and go through photos. Start collecting that scene of that mountain stream that you want to paint. Get yourself some different material. So don't be hindered by time. That's my closing word. All right, Graham, thank you. And Ron, I appreciate you guys, everybody coming on board. You're all my Facebook friends. So happy to have you in the studio with me. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Remember, practice is the key, but most importantly, we're to enjoy this. I use practice. I say that a lot, but it's not a negative thing. It's the little ladder to getting better, right? All right, my friends, you have a great day. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Get to the blog, lindaglovergooch.com/113. Go take that other lesson and let me hear from you. I want to know what you want to know. All right. Have a good one. Ciao.